talk about gin. What's the basic word in gin? Juniper. Juniper. Juniper cumanis. Okay? There are not just one type of juniper. There's a whole bunch, in fact. There's some edible ones like Drupacea, Ocadraceus, Phoenicia, Depanaya, Californica, and there's even one that's kind of poisonous called Sabina. But there you go, what can you say? Juniper's been around in civilization for a long time. Started in Asia, where juniper berries were burned in the middle of the town. They'd have a giant incense burner, and they would use juniper wood, juniper berries to protect people from evil spirits and work as a spiritual and body protector. In Egypt, believe it or not, juniper berries and juniper wood were part of the embalming process. And it also kept the skin really soft and supple, so it was used even by Cleopatra. And just as an aside, it was also used for preventing flatulence and treating indigestion. In Greece, come up with something fascinating. Hippocrates saved the city of Athens from a cholera epidemic by burning juniper berries in the streets, because he discovered that this stuff actually gets rid of what they thought was the cause of all disease, noxious fumes. Medieval Europe. Medieval Europe. Things haven't really changed too much in a way. Juniper berries were planted in front of people's homes because it kept the witches from coming inside your house. Unless, of course, the witch could tell how many needles were on the juniper branches, and then she had to give you access. You know, it was as simple as that. The British used to hang juniper in front of the door to keep away the witches on the night before May Day, because May Day was a major festival in Druid religion, and so you didn't want the witches to come in and try to curse you before the big turnaround day when you were supposed to be fertile and spring came and the world was going to be happy again. Again, juniper meant something even in the rest of Europe. In Germany and France, they used to use it to keep the demons from coming into the house. They used to leave branches of it in the corners to keep the demons coming out of the house. But the funny thing was, in some places, they even said you could keep the thieves from the door by putting juniper berries somewhere in your house. Now.
So it was no surprise that in the mid-1350s, when the plague, the Black Death, raged across Europe and Britain, that juniper berries were in common use. People were rubbing themselves down with juniper. They were wearing garlands of juniper, putting juniper around the house, bathing in juniper. Physicians tending to plague victims would wear masks like you see above. That beak was filled with juniper berries to keep away the evil smells that would cause the plague. Now, the funny thing is, it actually worked. Juniper, as it turns out, is a natural flea repellent. The plague was carried by fleas. They didn't know why it worked at the time. In fact, I don't know if anyone discovered this until about 9 months ago. I Googled juniper and flea repellent, and there it was, all of these naturopathic remedy sites recommending juniper. That it all clicked into place, and it made sense why they did that.
Well, this isn't just limited to the Middle Ages, because even in France, there was a cholera epidemic that came from Asia in 1870. And guess what they used in the hospitals to, close quote, disinfect the building? Juniper! And they did that all the way, even into and through both great wars. They felt that, you know, you could reduce the amount of infectious bacteria that was around just by burning juniper.
Now, it also made it into cuisine during that time for the same reason as purification, just to keep you healthy. But people developed a taste for it.
Anybody eat kielbasa around here? Kielbasa has juniper berries
made with juniper.
Yeah.
Venison stew traditionally made with juniper. Yeah. You'll find huge quantities of juniper consumed in Spain, and historically so. So it should be no surprise that gin consumption in Spain is higher per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Well, and Scandinavia. I mean, they like to put it all over the place. So there you go.
But medical use of juniper runs back to, we've traced it to 1055. The medical school in Salerno is the earliest reference to a juniper elixir, a juniper spirit.
But it was aqua ardens, not aqua vitae.
And that was written up in the Compendium Salerni from the Salerno Medical School, which not only, unfortunately, is it written in Latin, but it's also written in code, because these were scholars in a Catholic country taking Moorish or heretical works from the Arabs and translating them.
Evil.
So depending on who was Pope, who was in power, they were at times risking their lives to dig through and to translate this old knowledge that came to them.
Actually, believe it or not, the one pope who said that it was okay for priests and scholars and monks and anybody who had any ability to read to actually read Arab texts and start looking at some of the things the alchemists were doing with making distillates and making some form of wood alcohol was Pope Sylvester II. Guess what? There was a Jewish pope. I'm totally serious. Pope Sylvester, who was the one who said, you know what, you're allowed to look at this stuff now, which is why we have the alcohol that we have that's known as aqua vitae, that was done by Arnaud de Villeneuve. It was because of a Jewish pope.
You can also thank him for introducing Arabic numerals
Yep.
and doing away with the Roman numeral
All
system.
his fault.
Yes.
It's all his fault. Well, let's move over to the 1200s. Come on. Come on, come on.
Right. That's not the 1200s, that's Lucas Bolt.
Yes. Well,
1269, Juniper-based health tonics and medicines in Jacob von Mehlert van Tedam's book, Der Naturen Bloem, of
Natural
Nature Flower.
Yeah.
Yes. That was the first that we saw them written down for consumption that wasn't written in code.
yeah.
1552, we jump forward to Juniper eau de vie making an appearance in Philippis Hermani's book. Do we have a title for that book?
It's very long. It's constant, like the Distillerum Bookum, something like